What is up, everybody? Ethan back today. It's actually early in the morning, about 11 a.m. Just wanted to come on here and I love music, classic 70s hard rock, that kind of thing, heavy metal. I would just want to come on today and talk about a great album run from a band from the United States who I think their first six albums in the 1970s. We're talking 1974. Well, they recorded it in 73, but their debut from 1974, their first six albums through the rest of the decade to 1979, their sixth album, to me was just a legendary run of albums. And to me, there's not a weak album in that six album run. I mean, you could argue that others are a lot stronger than others, and I feel that way as well. I have my favorites of these six, and at the end of the video, after I get done talking about them, maybe we'll go through kind of a ranking of how I prefer them, from least to best favorite. But yeah, the band is Kansas. And I know I've talked about a few of their albums before on my channel, but what a great band from Kansas, the U.S. state Kansas. Started in the early 70s, 1973. They recorded their debut album, Kansas, self-titled. Get the plastic off that. Really cool cover art. Kind of, that's a painting of like a abolitionist back in the like Revolutionary War days. There's a shot of the guys there. This album was released in, I want to say, February 1974. Hold on, we'll look it up real quick. And just a great debut. They hadn't quite found their sound yet, but really they were close. There's not a lot of immaturity on this album. They really sound like they know where they want to go. They haven't quite gotten there yet, but really a more mature, kind of well thought out album than a lot of bands at that time debut. I think of bands like Bachman Turner Overdrive, maybe even Aerosmith. Other bands at that time had debuts that were not as strong as this one. These guys kind of figured it out pretty quick. And it was released March 8th, 1974, recorded in late 73. And I do hear some of that early 70s in here. I hear a little bit of like boogie rock, kind of more heartland rock. But this is considered in the genre of hard rock and prog rock. 45-minute long album on the Kirshner and Epic in Europe labels, produced by Wally Gold, recorded in New York City at the record plant. Yeah, so the band is uh well, Steve Walsh on vocals, Phil Earhart on drums, Harry Livgren on guitars and the main songwriter. That is Rich Williams on guitar, Robbie Steinhardt on violin, the great violin player, and Dave Hope or David Hope on the bass. Yeah, like I said, really cool album cover. Just the first two tracks on the album are kind of more straight ahead, standard 70s hard rock. I even get a little ZZ Top and Deep Purple with some of those songs, which is kind of not where the sound they wouldn't be known for later, but you can hear some of that kind of Americana influence, maybe a little Southern rock. Lonely Wind is a great song. Bill X's sounds like Deep Purple meets Uriah Heep. Great kind of hard charging, organ heavy prog rock song. And I will say those first three songs have some killer Robbie Steinhardt violin on them. He was all over this album early on, and I think kind of a driving influence for the band. Him, Steve Walsh, and Kerry Livgren. Not that the other guys weren't, but his violin playing was just incredible early on. And then to finish off side one, you have the incredible Journey from Mariabron, which is an almost 8-minute long song, epic prog rock. Think some of their longer, more epic prog rock tracks on their next couple albums. That really kind of foreshadows where they would go from there. And then to finish off the album, you have Apercu and the Death of Mother Nature Suite. They kind of go together. Killer, prog, heavy, hard charging prog rock. And there's some great heavy guitar solos in those songs as well. Yeah, just a great debut from a great band. I won't get too long-winded. Their second album, Song for America, in 1975, early 1975. They actually released two in 1975. It was recorded in late 74. And for me, while the songwriting may have improved on this one a little bit, I think I do prefer the debut. I don't know if that's controversial or a unusual take, but Down the Road's a heavy boogie rock song. Song for America is the epic on this title track. Lamplight Symphony has some beautiful singing and vocals from the great Steve Walsh. Lonely Street, side two, sounds like a Southern rock song. The Devil Game kind of sounds like Southern rock, ZZ Top with some progginess. And then Inca Mudro, Hymn to the App Man, is like a 10-minute long song to finish off the album, which they usually finish off their albums with an 8-10 minute long epic. I'm sorry, it's 16 minutes. Well, no, that's the live version. 12 minutes, 11 seconds. But yeah, great kind of epic prog rock song that. And there's a shot of the guys there looking really cool early on, looking really young as well. And for me, the epics on this album are good. Song for America and Inca Mudro, Hymn to the App Man. But they kind of meander, they kind of wander. They don't have as much. The arrangements are just a little all over the place, and usually that doesn't bother me. I like real kind of long, epic tracks, but I think they would get better at doing that later. So yeah, their second album, Song for America, with the really cool eagle talons on the front. Great album. I think I prefer the debut. We'll talk about that later. Later that year, I've talked about this before, Mask, really cool album cover. Their third album later that year. To me, this is, they improve even more. They were on a trajectory at this point. The first song, It Takes a Woman's Love to Make a Man, pop song. I could do without that. They were trying to get a hit, or the record label was pushing them to get a hit, I should say. And this was released in September of 75 in this famous studio in the country in Bogalusa, Louisiana. Hard rock and prog rock on the Epic and Kirshner labels. 2 Cents Worth, moody kind of hard rocker, Steve Walsh song. And then Icarus Born on Wings of Steel, Chef's Kiss. I mean, that is a phenomenal song. Epic, proggy, hard rocking, great guitar playing. All the World, great Steve Walsh vehicle for his vocals, an incredible voice. Child of Innocence, side two, killer guitar riff to start it off. Sounds like a Deep Purple song almost. It's You, I could do without that. It's an okay song. Mysteries and Mayhem, killer, 4 out of 5, 5 out of 5 stars. Heavy, hard charging song with Robbie Steinhardt on vocals. He would sing a few songs, especially early on. Those first 2 albums I just mentioned, he did sing lead vocals on a few of those, although mostly Steve Walsh sang. And then The Pinnacle, which to me might be the pinnacle of their career, pun intended. That is just an epic in the grandest sense of the word. See, I mentioned a minute ago about the songs on Song for America meandering. To me, The Pinnacle from Mask is how you do an epic right. Great vocal harmonies, great chorus, great pre-chorus. The song is long, and it does go on a long time, but it has structure. It doesn't meander. It doesn't wander. It has a theme, I feel, vocally, lyrically, and musically. The Pinnacle from Kansas, top 3 Kansas song for me. Wonderful song on a great album, underrated album, Mask. And Kerry Livgren, the main songwriter, Pinnacle was actually the part 1 of Carry On Wayward Son from Left Overture. So Carry On Wayward Son is considered the part 2 of The Pinnacle from that album. So yeah, Left Overture, let's talk about it. Their 4th album, released October 21st, 1976, recorded December 75 to August 76. So they took a good 9 months recording this monumental album. And look at that artwork right there, kind of the, you know, ancient kind of scribe writing with the feather pen there, like the wise man in ancient times or whatever. And again, like I said, Carry On Wayward Son, one of probably their most, well, not even probably, undoubtedly their most well known song. It's all over pop culture. It's an incredible song. One of those songs that no matter how many times you hear it, you don't really get tired of it, or I don't. I mean, you hear it on the radio, sports stadiums, on TV, wherever. I haven't heard it on TV much, but it's just one of those songs that just transcends um, classic rock, really. It's just heard everywhere. A great song, their finest hour, probably. And there's a really cool picture of the guys there. Steve Walsh, Robbie Steinhardt, Dave Hope, Bill Earhart, Kerry Livgren, Dave Hope, or I'm sorry, Rich Williams, Dave Hope. Check out that mustache. Gotta love that. Really cool. Yeah, but as great as Carry On Wayward Son is, and it is great, they have some other phenomenal songs on this album. And let's talk about those songs. The Wall, track number 2. Great song. Moody, introspective. Similar themes to Carry On Wayward Son, being disillusioned, not really having direction in life. That theme kind of goes throughout this album, and a lot of Kerry Livgren's writing in general. But The Wall, just a great kind of 5-minute long prog rock song with some phenomenal vocals from, again, like a broken record, but some phenomenal vocals from the legendary Steve Walsh. And I will say, he probably sounds better, the best he's ever sounded on this album. Steve Walsh, the singer. I think 76, 77, 78 was kind of his peak. The next album, I would consider part of his peak as well, but this is the time when he really came into his own as a singer, and really he was the best in the business in these couple years around this album, in my opinion. Just a great singer. The Wall, What's on My Mind is just shorter, kind of hard rocking song. And then to finish off side 1 of the vinyl, Miracles Out of Nowhere. That is an incredible song. Proggy, heavy, moody. Just a great song. One of the best songs on the album with Carry On Wayward Son. It just finishes off side 1 in a phenomenal fashion. Side 1 of this album, of this LP, is incredible. But Miracles Out of Nowhere, it's almost 7 minutes long. It just kind of bubbles and boils and gets a little moody in the middle, and then comes back in with a great heavy riff and great violin playing from Robbie Steinhardt. Great song. Opus Insert and Questions in My Childhood on side 2. Kind of dipped down a little for me. Maybe not as solid as the first side. Cheyenne Anthem and Magnum Opus to finish it off. Epic, proggy, grandiose, to use a $5 word. Magnum Opus especially is a great song. That's 8.5 minutes. Similar to the albums before this, they always save that really long track for the last song on the album, and it's a great Magnum Opus. Has lots of different parts and sections, if you will, and it's just an epic ending to an epic album. Leftoverture. Their next album, Point of No Return from 77. Look at that album artwork again. Very cool. The ship going over the waterfall there. Kind of like the end of the world or whatever, I don't know if they were like flat earthers or whatever, but it's kind of what it looks like. I wouldn't want to be that ship. This was released in 1977, their 5th album, October of 77. Again, another classic album from then. This is kind of around the time they peaked. You got the kickoff track, Point of No Return, Paradox, The Spiders, an instrumental, Portrait He Knew, great vocals from Steve Walsh, Closet Chronicles, 6.5 minute proggy song, the great hard charging, almost Southern Rocky sounding Lightning's Hand, sung by Robbie Steinhardt. Dust in the Wind, you may have heard that song on classic rock radio. Beautiful song. Acoustic guitar from Kerry Livgren. It was actually one of those songs where it was kind of just like a throwaway song. Kerry Livgren was warming up with acoustic guitar licks, and I believe it was his wife who said, "Man, that's really good. You guys should make that a song." And they did, and it became their most well known, or second most well known song. "Dust in the Wind," great song, beautiful song, great vocals from Steve Walsh, and a really cool video as well on YouTube with that song. "Sparks of the Tempest," another heavy, hard rocking song from Robbie Steinhardt. "Nobody's Home" and "Hopelessly Human." Uh, don't have a lot to say about those songs. I probably need to listen to them again, but they finished the album off with, in an excellent fashion. I will say the songs are getting a little shorter on this album, kind of foreshadowing where they would go later with more poppy short songs. So it's a little less proggy, I would say, than the four that came before it. Not quite as epic, not quite as, maybe a little more radio friendly, a little more mainstream, if you will, but still a top shelf Kansas album, Point of No Return from '77. And then to finish off the 6 album run, we have Monolith from '79. With that cool album artwork again. Have a look at the back. You know, look at that. Very cool, right? And we got to get a good picture of the guys in the band here. Look at that. Very cool. Kind of very cool. 1979. So this was, right at the turn of the decade, May 1979. And this is a popular album, but still a phenomenal album. Um, on the Other Side kicks it off, 6.5 minutes long. That's a heavy prog rock, kind of hard rocking song. People of the South Wind, written by Kerry Livgren, I believe was released as a single. Great catchy song, kind of sounds poppy and disco-y, but still a good song. And then you got Angels Have Fallen, great song. Um, I believe Robbie Steinhardt sings lead vocals on that one, and he always added kind of an extra grit to the songs when he sang them, as opposed to Steve Walsh, who was the more kind of traditional singer, operatic singer. Um, Steve Walsh had a much better voice, but the songs that Robbie did sing, he did really well on them, and the songs fit his vocal style. They're more kind of gritty, kind of southern rocky boogie songs. Angels Have Fallen, great song. How My Soul Cries Out for You, beautiful Steve Walsh vehicle there. Finish off side one. A Glimpse of Home, great song on side two. Away From You, Stay Out of Trouble, Reason to Be. Maybe drop down a little bit, but overall, it's just a great album. This one doesn't get talked about a lot, but for me, this is the last album of a great 6 album run. So yeah, Monolith from 1977, and that concludes the 6 album run discussion from the legendary Kansas. One of my favorite bands, a band I came to later. I've only just recently kind of gotten into their albums and their music. I've not always known about them, of course, and of course I'm way too young to have seen them live back in the day, or to buy these albums when they first came out, of course. But using the internet and buying classic used vinyls, I've learned a lot about the band, listened to a lot of their albums. As far as ranking these, how would I rank them? I mean, it really depends on the day, but least favorite would be Monolith. But again, it's a really great album. They were starting to kind of go down in quality here. The band would change drastically after this point, both member wise and lyrically wise, and key band members would, get in disagreements and leave the band, and a bunch of drama like that. But still a great album. We'll go Monolith number 6. And then I got to go Song for America next. I know, yeah, great album. Might be a little controversial, but for me, it's just not quite as good as the others. That would be number 5. Number 4, this is tough. I'm going to go Point of No Return, number 4. Yeah, the debut's higher. I'm going to go the debut, number 3. Really great debut. Journey from Marylebone, Death of Mother Nature Suite. Those are some epic songs that are heavy, deep purpley. I just really great debut. I like it a lot more than some of the others that other people may rate higher. Now it gets tough. These two, for me, are their peak. Which is better? People consider this their masterpiece, but I think they were on that trajectory with this album. They found it here. It may have 2 songs on it that are a little throwaway, but man, number 2, I'm going to go Leftoverture. Number 1, I'm going to go Mask. And why is it number 1? It's got Icarus Born on Wings of Steel, it's got Child of Innocence, and it's got The Pinnacle. And like I said earlier, The Pinnacle is kind of the pinnacle of their songwriting. But this album is great. This one may have better songs or more well-known songs, but I think overall this one's a little stronger, but it's so close. We'll just say a tie for number 1. Both these right here, get them, listen to them, buy them. But yeah, gun to my head, I'd say 2 and 1. But really, in my mind, they're tied for all intents and purposes. Yeah, and that concludes a great 6-album run from the legendary Kansas. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to me ramble about stupid stuff you probably don't care about, but I love it, and I love this band, and those 6 albums to me are great. Cheers.